Are you trying to set your expectations for how long you should expect it to take to license your idea? Hi, Lisa Lloyd here with more tips, tricks, and strategies to help you optimize and accelerate your invention licensing business success. If you like this video, please tell YouTube by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. It's a free way to support me doing this. And if you want more like this, then smash that notification bell to be the first to know whenever I post a new video. I've had 3 people ask me how long it takes to get a licensing deal in just the last day, so I figured that was probably a topic worth explaining here. Obviously, the overall time that it will take anyone will be different for every inventor and invention, but I figure if you understand what the overall process is, then you can make a plan and set some realistic goals based on your schedule and the time that you have to do this in your life. In this video, I'll explain the basics of my stage gate process, each of the steps that I use to flesh out the validity of my ideas and then develop the best modality for the invention itself, then protect it and license it to companies. I'll put links below so that you can dig into each of these subjects in more detail if that's helpful for you. First, we have to do all of the research. That is, checking to see if it's a valid idea, what the competition is, and what patents may already exist to compete with. This usually takes me about 5 to 10 hours of total research altogether. Next, I have to develop the idea. This is where timing gets a little tricky because you have to answer for yourself whether you need a working model or a prototype, or it may take even longer if you do full-blown prototypes, versus just having a 3D prototype or an animation to get the job done. For less mechanical or less complicated products, it clearly takes less time than a new electric bike, for example. Just don't be in a rush here. Please take your time and make sure that you have looked at all of the possible ways that you could invent the best possible solution to the problem that you've identified and have a logical explanation for all of the other ways that you know it could be made but have chosen not to. The benefit to you and your confidence here is that once you really understand why you've chosen the modality, in other words, the reduction to practice, the way that you chose to make your invention solve the problem, that's just one way. Think about it. There's hundreds of other ways that it could be done. But if you haven't looked at the other 99 ways, for example, that it could be done and chosen the one, there's a good chance that there's a better option for you out there. If you look at all the possible ways, including the bad ones, and then choose the one that you believe is best, then you have the confidence and have demonstrated competence in choosing the right one, which makes for a good business case later when it comes time to pitch it for license. So please slow down here. Keep in mind, if you have to hire people to do some of this work for you, that's going to add time to your overall timeline for licensing. But it's not time out of your personal work schedule. So if you're doing this as a side hustle, you're not really talking about more than maybe a few days of part-time work, breaking things apart, putting them back together, and discovering the best modality for your invention. Next, we have the patent process. Now, writing a patent application is not the same thing as filling out a job application form, for example. It's more like an essay with some very distinct requirements. If you choose to do this yourself, you can save some money, but just plan on committing the time extra for the learning curve to make sure you get this right. You can save time using software. There's plenty of provisional patent application software out there that will shorten that learning curve and won't be as expensive as hiring somebody. If you choose to hire an attorney or a patent agent, just ask them how long they expect it to take to file the application. It just depends really on their caseload. And finally, the licensing process itself is left. This involves getting your marketing material together. So that's your sell sheet, any videos or photos that you need from your prototypes, or if you've done a 3D animation or maybe just a 3D photo, putting all of that together in the form of a sell sheet is the first step. And if you're doing that yourself, you can expect it to take, maybe a couple of hours, just depending on your skill level, and then up from there. Then you have to find the right people at the right companies and present that to them. So typically 5 to 10 hours to do the research on all of the companies, because you've actually done quite a bit of this earlier. Had you followed my stage gate process, you would already have this list. So most of that work's been done already. But any additional companies, going out and researching the market to see if there's anyone else to add to the list, connecting with those people, whether it's by email or through LinkedIn or even on the telephone, and setting appointments and ultimately making the pitch. All of that, depending on how long your list is, usually averages out to about 5 to 10 hours for me. Now, that doesn't take into consideration if I decide to go to a trade show to pitch the product. That actually can basically shorten it, because now I can condense it into a couple of days. So I'm not looking at hours over an extended period of time where I part-time chip away at those hours, but I condense it and do it all maybe at one trade show and meet with as many companies as I can under one roof over a day or two. Those are more convenient, but obviously a little bit more expensive. And of course, you have the negotiations. Once you pitch the company, they need to do their homework validating the opportunity to make a business case for licensing your invention. So I've seen this taken as little as a few days and as long as 9 to 12 months under very unique circumstances. Most often it's an average of 1 to 3 months to connect with, talk to, negotiate, and successfully close that deal. Of course, the bigger the company they are, the longer it takes because the lawyers are a lot more involved and the contracts are longer and there's a lot more due diligence they will do. Smaller companies tend to be able to pull the trigger and act faster. Now, there's one more thing to take into consideration. When do you start getting paid? Listen, this is a business, right? So you're looking for a return on your investment. And if you're asking the question, how long will it take? Then it's probably because you're quantifying the cost associated with that time. And we're looking for the highest rate of return on our investment, right? So the companies still have to finish inventing if you haven't completely fleshed out the entire idea. And then they have to manufacture it, get the inventory in, sell it, deliver it, and then it has to still sell through at the stores. So all of that has to happen first. And then on top of that, companies typically will pay on a licensing deal every quarter or 30 to 45 days following the end of a quarter. So essentially you can expect it to take maybe up to a year, possibly even a little bit longer, depending on how big the company is that you're working with. If you want to avoid all of the expensive mistakes in time and money, book a free strategy call with me to learn how you can level up your invention skills and create a profitable licensing business in the least amount of time. Dare to dream and imagine what's possible when powered by innovation.